Alright, I'm reading Necessities by Jean Kazaz. I'm on the second page right now. I've already listed some notes that I took. Okay, continuing. We can only aspire to say what seems most reasonable. We certainly should not expect to be able to recognize which are the critical goods in one intuitive flash, without spending time looking at any sort of evidence. It may take you some time before you come to think that happiness or morality or any other candidate is fundamentally good. A person could come to think so only after reading a searing biography or watching a movie or reflecting on a life experience. I can name so many times in my life where I experienced this when you walk out of like a movie after you're spending like 3 hours in there and you come out and you have this whole new perspective of life and what you want to do and how you achieve true happiness. At the very least, we would have to sift through examples. We're all familiar with lots of lives, and we deem some better than others. If the lives we deem good consistently are lives of, say, eating lots of popcorn, then eating lots of popcorn looks to be a fundamental good with relevance to human well-being. Eating a lot of popcorn does sound like it would bring someone happiness. If we deem lives bad when they're lacking popcorn consumption, then that's a reason to view popcorn consumption as a necessity. Okay, so I think what she's saying here is that we deem what is important based on how much happiness it brings to our life, I think. Beyond this sort of sifting of cases and discovery of patterns, we learn something from looking at the human motivation. Okay, I only have 10 seconds. Basically, everything that she's talking about in this area is reminding me of the project we did. I think it was in this class about if you were stuck in like a pleasure machine and whether you would want to live that life or not. All right, as I was saying before, the last clip cut me off. This page is reminding me a lot of the assignment that we did earlier in this class, where you propose a question of whether or not we would choose to be in this pleasure machine or whether the whole purpose of life is to achieve happiness, because like true happiness is a gratitude we experience from achieving the happiness. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. And I just read this, I think it's a poem right here, and it's talking about how the humanly pleasures that we chase after, such as eating unhealthy food, or just things that aren't that great for us, aren't even important because there's so much more to life that you can achieve and chase after, that these small things shouldn't even be part of our life. Alright, I just read this page too, and it alluded to this. I think it was a story from this guy named Styron that wrote about his depression and how he came back from it. And this page is just talking about how in life you go through bits of experiencing happiness and sadness, and how everything is interchanging always. Happiness is critical, but it's not the only critical thing. David Shipler portrays the lives of people struggling to make ends meet in his recent book, The Working Poor Invisible in America. His stories have a recurrent theme, the lack of control that's the cost of poverty. The low income theme. Sorry. Alright, I just read up to here, and it's basically alluding to this thing that this guy wrote about how poor people struggle to achieve happiness as much as people who are well off, I guess. Alright, it's a new day, back to reading. Okay, so I just read this whole excerpt about this story about this woman who did everything she could to fulfill the needs in her life and still lost everything. And it's an analogy to how basically independence and autonomy over our own lives is basically synonymous with happiness. The more independent you are, the more choices you have over your own life is kind of interchangeable with the amount of happiness you have. And on my Word doc over here, I just quoted some important things that I thought, or some things I thought were important from this page. I relate this part back to my life because I don't come from a lot of money, so I always have to work jobs that are only focused on like getting money. I can't really waste my time on getting internships to get more experience for like my future. I have to work kind of minimum wage jobs to be able to afford things like my rent, food, and school. Um, and I can definitely say that being in this position kind of takes away from happiness, um, like true full happiness I could have in my own life. Okay, I'm starting over here. In contemporary Western culture, there is no doubt that we place a huge premium on personal autonomy. Autonomy is regarded in quite a different way in other settings. Certainly, we should avoid drawing a picture of the necessary kinds of amounts of autonomy based on what's in our own backyards. Arranged marriage is alien to us, but does it cut into autonomy excessively? And then the rest of this paragraph talks about arranged marriages and how that it takes away from the autonomy of each of these people, but how in this culture, this is just seen as normal and that girls shouldn't have decisions over their own happiness. All right, I just read this page. I didn't really understand who this Nowhere Man is, but from based on the text, I think it's a Beatles song, and it's talking about how this guy who basically lives the ideal like life of happiness, who gets to choose and change up his mind, lacks a sense of self, and that's also something that we need for happiness. A word that I found that I didn't really understand in this context was endowed, so I'm gonna go search that up. Okay, so the Google definition is to provide with a quality, ability, or asset. So I guess in this context right here, it says we want to be amply endowed with the ingredients covered so far, which is happiness and autonomy. So we want to be very, sorry, I had a brain fart. We want to like be accustomed to these things that are listed, which is happiness and autonomy. A weak self is indifferent to what, for the rest of us, are big differences. So this is talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and how his quality of or the things that he supports in his life go against the person he's married to, and how he supposedly lacks a sense of self. Sense of identity tends to make us happy like the other fundamental goods do, but self and happiness don't always go hand in hand. There's probably some situation in which each of us would choose self over happiness. Some people face that choice as the result of mental illness. For a person who is profoundly depressed, a treatment of last resort is elective convulsive therapy, which can result in memory loss. So this really hits close to home because I'm currently on medications for mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And the side effects of these I feel like kind of dim my personality, but it makes me happier in the long run. So as I was saying before the video cut me off, you kind of have to make sacrifices between happiness and self-identity in some cases, such as this. Alright, since I only have 2 minutes left, I'm gonna kind of skip ahead. A list of four necessities: happiness, autonomy, self-expression, and morality is admirably tidy, but not absurdly restricted. Each thing on the list is robustly valuable. So this paragraph is talking about this fictional woman that the reader made up. And it's describing how she has all these things that lead to happiness, but she doesn't ever evolve, so she kind of just stays the same. And she's missing this good of growth. So she's introducing this idea that not only do you have to have happiness, autonomy, self-expression, and morality, but you also have to be constantly evolving for the better. The rest of this page is talking about how we like seeing people overcome adversity in their lives, and it makes it a lot easier to see change for the better. But wouldn't it be better to skip worse and go directly to better, to have the knowledge or skills or activities or experiences that are better from the start? Maybe that would be good for another kind of being. So to sum the rest of this area up, a better life stems from going worse to better, basically. When she introduces this other fictional character, Maggie, who is a very good person on the outside, but her happiness and everything she strives for in life is a result of this magic drug. Then the author talks about this person that derives happiness from going to the casino, and when he's with his family, he's just thinking about the casino. I don't know what blight is, so I'm going to switch that up. So she sums it up by saying, Happiness is good no matter where it's from, but you should want happiness from things that have value. Okay, that's it. Bye.